I'm Olivia, 34 years old, and today is a very special day for me, our 5th wedding anniversary. I lit the last candle, letting the flickering flame dance on the crisp white tablecloth beside a bouquet of red roses glistening with tiny dewdrops. The soft crackle of the flame and the faint scent of roses lingered in the quiet kitchen. I had made his favorite steak, cooked medium rare with a rich black pepper sauce, and homemade cheesecake with silky cream, like a promise of a warm evening. On the dining table, the candles crackled gently, casting a soft orange glow over the red roses arranged in an old glass jar. I adjusted the napkin, straightening a slightly crooked corner, and told myself tonight would be romantic, different. The table was set for 4, me, Logan, and our 2 close friends, Aria and Luke. They arrived beaming, carrying a bottle of red wine and lively conversation. I poured the wine, moved between plates, exchanged a look with Aria as she complimented the smell of the food. Everything felt light, almost perfect. Then Logan walked into the dining room, staggering slightly, clearly drunk, probably from another party before coming home. His eyes swept across the candles, then landed on our 2 best friends. He picked up a glass of wine, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "To a life without obligations," he said, voice low but sharp, eyes locked on mine. The words, "without obligations," sliced through the romantic scene I'd carefully prepared like a cold blade, while the candlelight flickered, as if reminding me of the slow, long-festering cracks. Luke stopped smiling. Aria lowered her head and took a sip of wine. I gripped my glass stem, fingers icy cold, but I kept smiling. "Actually, Olivia," Logan continued, setting his glass down, "the best gift you could give me is to leave my life." The room froze. His words needed no further explanation, and I felt like a brittle leaf falling from a branch. I pushed my chair back, a forced, cracking smile on my lips, quietly leaving the table, walking past the empty chairs like a ghost haunting a happiness that no longer existed. I drifted into the kitchen, the candle flame still dancing, casting golden light across my face, my strained smile now like a shattered mask. The door creaked open. I grabbed my coat from the hook, stepped outside, and didn't look back. The park was a few blocks away, quiet except for the dull flicker of streetlights on the benches. I sat down, coat wrapped tightly around me, breath forming small clouds in the cold air. I thought about all the years, turning down promotions to stay home, cooking meals he liked, keeping the house clean so he could focus on work. I'd shelved my dream of becoming an interior designer, put aside late nights of sketching under the desk lamp, just so Logan wouldn't have to worry. But now, under the streetlight, I asked myself, what did I get in return? The memories of past anniversaries rushed back. I remembered the first time he saw me in my wedding dress, our giggles while cutting the cake. The first year, I gave him a watch engraved with his name, hoping he'd cherish our time together. He wore it once, then tucked it in a box, joking it didn't go with his suit. The second year, I made a photo album, carefully pasting in each memory. He flipped through a few pages, gave a faint smile, then left it on a shelf to gather dust. Each year, I tried harder, became more thoughtful, but his eyes always looked distant, like I was just an extra piece in the picture he painted of his life. Back at home, the house was dark and silent like my marriage. I turned on the light, threw away the roses and the now cold steaks, stared at the pile of dishes. I didn't wash them. I went to bed with the bitter taste of tears in my mouth and his words still ringing in my ears. The next morning, I opened my bag and took out my journal, the worn leather cover rough under my fingers. I opened to a blank page, morning light casting faint streaks across the paper, but I felt no warmth. The pen was in my hand, but I couldn't write a word. My chest felt heavy, like every part of me, my smile, my dreams, my time, had been erased by this marriage. In that moment, I realized I had let this marriage consume who I really was. I let out a long breath, closed my eyes, and let the morning light wrap itself around my loneliness. I remember that autumn, when I was 24, standing outside my professor's office, holding a folder of final sketches. "You have talent," he said, his eyes lighting up as he flipped through my drawings, a sunlit room with sheer curtains and warm oak floors. But then Logan called, his voice urgent on the phone. "I need you, Olivia. The startup's just getting off the ground. I can't do it alone." I nodded, even though he couldn't see, and the next week, I left school, set aside my pencils, shelved every dream I had of gallery spaces to balance books, cook dinners, do laundry, and keep the house clean so he could focus. I told myself, this was love. I'm doing the right thing, I thought. Less than a year later, I stood still in the living room as Logan slammed shut the old storage closet. "This rug is tacky," he said, without a trace of hesitation, then tore it into shreds. I looked up, and the candlelight flickered across his eyes. There wasn't a drop of regret. Then the wall before me shifted from warm cream to cold gray. "It looks better, doesn't it?" Logan said, half joking. I wanted to push back, to say, "Don't touch my memories. This was my parents' home." But I only managed a smile, a slow nod, even as my chest tightened. I told myself compromise was how you keep love alive, that if Logan was happy, I'd be happy too. But every time I walked through that cold gray hallway, I felt another part of me buried. All those years I lived to please Logan. The carefully prepared dinners, the late nights helping him tweak reports, the early mornings spent ironing his shirts. I lived so he wouldn't feel alone. But what about me? That question stabbed through my heart, sharp as a blade. I picked up my pen, and this time I wrote, "I lived so he wouldn't feel alone." But what about me? The ink bled on the page, as if it, too, was crying. The background music faded. I grabbed my phone, opened the banking app. The numbers stared back at me, cold and clear. Dozens of small transactions, $100, $200, transferred to another account, Logan's name. Over $1 million in the past month. I stared at the screen, breath caught in my throat. He had taken our money, my parents' inheritance, the savings we built for our future, without saying a word. I closed the app, my hand gripping so tight my knuckles turned white. I didn't cry. That whole day, I searched through old drawers in the office, house deeds, bank books, inheritance papers from my parents, all buried under the pile of sketches Logan once called garbage. I sorted them into neat stacks, carefully, like I was rebuilding part of my life. And then I found it. A painting I made when we had just fallen in love. A made-up room full of light, with floral fabric chairs and windows opening to a garden. Logan had laughed at it, said it was too colorful, and packed it away. I pulled the canvas out, brushed off the dust, my fingers tracing the faded strokes. That was me, 21, dreaming of a world filled with color, of a home overflowing with love. I carried the painting into the house, leaned it against the living room wall, right in the center of the gray. The late afternoon light hit it, making the painted flowers glow. I sat on the floor, staring at it, and felt like I had just found a breath I'd lost a long time ago. I didn't wait any longer. I called Robert's law office. His voice on the phone was calm and steady. "We'll go through everything, Olivia. Don't worry." I booked an appointment for Tuesday, typed it into my phone, then looked around the room. The midday light filtered through the curtains, hitting the gray wall. I stood up, threw the windows wide open, and let the wind carry out the thick scent of cologne and the suffocating air. Tuesday morning, I drove to Robert's law office, the air filled with the scent of pinewood and freshly brewed coffee. He had a deep, steady voice, never showy. "We'll do this by the book, Olivia," he said, eyes focused as he flipped through the documents. I sat across from him, hands resting on the table, quietly watching as he organized the papers: my parents' house deed, our joint bank account records, and the equity agreement from the initial money I invested in Logan's company. "The house is yours," he said, "and the shares too." I nodded, feeling like I was reclaiming pieces of myself, one at a time. When I got home, Logan was already there, standing in the kitchen with a tray of burnt toast and cold coffee. "I thought you'd like this," he said with a forced smile, eyes avoiding mine. I looked at the tray, said nothing, and walked upstairs. The next morning, Logan knocked on my door, holding a bouquet of sunflowers, the kind I once said I liked, though he never remembered. "How are you?" he asked, his voice soft, pretending to care. "You've seemed busy lately. No breakfast from you." I stood in the doorway, my hand gripping the handle. "Anniversary?" I asked, voice flat. He blinked, thrown off. "Oh, that. Come on, Olivia, I was just drunk. You know how it is." I nodded but didn't open the door any further. "I'm busy," I said, then closed the door. Logan stood there for a few seconds, and I heard his footsteps retreat slowly, as if waiting for me to change my mind. That weekend, I sat across from a bank manager, a middle-aged woman with round glasses. She pulled up the account screen, brows furrowed as she scrolled. "There are consistent transfers," she said. "Small amounts, but frequent. Nearly $1 million over the past year to another account." I wasn't surprised, but my chest still tightened. That evening, I found Logan in the office, sorting papers. His hands froze when he saw me. "I saw the withdrawals," I said, my voice calm but sharp. He straightened, shrugged. "What are you talking about?" "It's shared expenses. House stuff, car repairs, little things." "You didn't ask me," I replied. He sighed, tossed a folder onto the desk. "You're always so dramatic. We're married, Olivia. Are you really this selfish?" I looked at him, saw that flicker of defensiveness in his eyes. "Selfish?" I repeated, my voice light as air. Then I turned away, walked upstairs and locked the door. Not out of fear, but because I no longer needed to explain my boundaries. The next morning, a message came from Luke, the friend who was there at the anniversary dinner. "Olivia, I'm sorry," she wrote. "I saw how Logan treated you, and I didn't speak up. You didn't deserve that. You've sacrificed too much." I read the message 3 times, my finger resting on the screen. My eyes stung, not from pain, but from the feeling of being seen without needing to explain. I replied simply, "Thank you." That message felt like a soft breeze, calming the storm inside me. I put down the phone, opened my journal, and wrote, "I'm not invisible." Then I stood up, opened the drawer, and pulled out the engraved watch I had given Logan, the one he never wore. I tossed it into the trash can. The sound of metal hitting the bottom rang out like a quiet declaration. Wednesday afternoon, I returned to Robert's office. The room still smelled of pine wood, but this time I felt lighter. He handed me each document, freezing the joint accounts, updating the house ownership, transferring company shares back into my name. I signed, my pen steady, no hesitation. Logan began receiving the notices. He called, left long voicemails, his voice half pleading, half accusing. "What are you doing, Olivia?" I didn't answer. I let the phone buzz in silence, turned it face down on the table, and kept organizing my papers. That night, I double-checked the front door lock before bed, not because I felt unsafe, but because I wanted to be sure this space was mine. A little later, I heard a car pull up outside. Logan pounded on my door, his voice harsh. "Why did you freeze the account?" I opened the door just enough to look him in the eyes. "You withdrew $1 million from our joint account without telling me." Logan looked away. "You're overreacting, Olivia. Stop this. Just go back to how things were." I didn't argue. I lifted the leather folder holding the contracts. "I don't live to make you comfortable anymore," I said, my voice low but firm. "I'm taking back what's mine." He stared at me, stunned, as if seeing me for the first time. "You'll regret this," he said, but his voice had lost its edge. "Maybe," I replied, "but at least it'll be my regret." I closed the door, locked it, and listened to his footsteps fade away down the front steps. The next day, Logan left the house. I heard the suitcase rolling across the wooden floor, his voice muttering to someone over the phone. A car pulled up in front, the engine humming steadily for 10 minutes. Then the front door slammed shut. I waited another hour before going downstairs. The living room was quiet, a few decorations missing, drawers left wide open, but the house was still here. My house, my name on the papers, no more disputes. I stood in the middle of the room, took a deep breath, and let the fresh air fill the space. The scent of oak from the floors, the intentional sweetness of the leftover candle, and the soft sound of wind slipping through the window cracks, all of it told me this house now belonged to me alone. The house was quiet, like it was breathing with me. I started slowly. I took the old painting from college, my imagined room of golden light and floral fabric, out of storage and hung it above the fireplace. The faded brushstrokes still shimmered in the morning light. I replaced the gray curtains with cream silk ones, letting sunlight pour in and warm the corners that had long been cold. I pulled the blue wool rug from the old trunk and spread it under the coffee table, feeling its softness under my feet. I opened every window, letting the wind sweep away the lingering scent of Logan's cologne. I swapped the cold white hallway bulbs for warm golden ones. From the attic, I brought down the wool blanket my mother left me, its blue threads still soft like memory. I draped it over the sofa, fingers brushing each stitch. That evening, I found a box of old tea in the kitchen cabinet, the jasmine blend I used to love before Logan called it a weird flavor. I brewed a cup and sat on the back porch, legs curled under me, watching the sun set behind the trees. I thought I'd cry, but I didn't. Instead, a calm settled over me. Not relief, not victory, but a kind of return. The next morning, I enrolled in an advanced interior design course. The old dream, those sketches on my drawing desk, came rushing back, vivid and whole. The classroom smelled faintly of pencil wood and oil paint, warm and pressure-free. No one asked where I came from. No one asked my last name. I picked a seat near the back, opened my sketchbook, and waited. The instructor, a woman named Mila with soft gray curls and paint-stained clothes, greeted everyone without fanfare. "We don't need to be good," she said. "We just need to begin." I hadn't drawn since I was 21, when lines used to flow from my hand like breath. The first strokes trembled, stiff, as if my hand had forgotten how to dream. But by the second class, something shifted. Each sketch felt like a new breath, my chest light like someone set free. No one in the room knew about Logan, about the drained accounts, or the anniversary dinner that broke me. They only saw how I shaded light, how I blended charcoal with my fingers, how I chuckled quietly at a classmate's joke. That was enough. Each week, I came home with graphite under my nails and a kind of peace I didn't try to explain. I started rearranging the house, one corner at a time. I painted the bathroom a pale mint green, moved the reading lamp to the other side of the sofa, hung my sketches, hands, tree lines, and once, a simple daisy. One afternoon, I found myself humming while cooking. The sound startled me. I hadn't made noise just to fill the space in years. That night, I sat by the window, opened my journal, and wrote, "I'm not building a new life. I'm remembering the one I left behind." Then the phone buzzed. Logan's voice, rough but familiar, came through. "Olivia," he said, almost a whisper. "The company's in trouble. I thought, maybe we should talk." I let the silence stretch. "I'm sorry," he added softer. "I don't want to lose you. This house doesn't feel right without you." The word, "this house," hit me, like he still believed everything belonged to him. I looked at the daisy sketch taped beside the window, the light changing on the paper every hour, like a clock of my own. "I hope your company gets through it," I said, "and you should find a way to handle it." He paused. "What do you mean? We can meet, talk like normal." I closed my eyes. "I can't shrink myself so you can feel big," I said, voice soft but steady. He exhaled. Angry or hurt, I couldn't tell. "So, that's it?" he asked. "That's it," I replied. He hung up. I didn't cry, didn't shake. I just sat there, breathing, and I knew. Freedom never fits back into old roles. The next morning, I went out to the garden with a small spade and a tray of young flowers. The soil was dry but loose, ready. I knelt by the garden bed near the porch and planted bright yellow sunflowers, then added a few lavender plants along the fence. Each one felt like a step forward, from the quiet wife to the woman who lights her own path. The soft soil wrapped around the roots like it was embracing the future I was building. As I stood and stretched, the sun dipped lower, casting golden light across the porch. Wind stirred through the branches, and for the first time in years, I heard the sound of the world without tension. I stayed outside until the light turned golden orange, soaking the marigolds in warmth. Then a knock came, soft but clear. A young man stood at the doorstep, eyes bright with curiosity, holding a jar of homemade strawberry jam, the glass catching the sunset glow. "Hi," he said, voice deep and a little shy. "I'm Nam. Just moved in next door. Your garden. It's beautiful." I blinked, surprised, like the wind had brought something new. "Thank you," I said, a small smile forming without effort. He held out the jar, his fingers grazing the lid like he wanted to say more, but he just smiled. I took the jam inside, placed it on the kitchen counter. The scent of strawberries rose, sweet, with a soft tartness. I didn't open it right away. I stood there, letting the silence expand around me, but this time it carried a new rhythm, gentle and still unnamed. That night, I opened my sketchbook and drew a new room, flooded with light, its doors opening to a garden. My phone buzzed, a message from Mila, my instructor. "Olivia, would you like to display your sketches at the exhibition next month?" I smiled, pen gliding softly over the page. "Maybe this is a beginning."